One. Hey peeps, welcome to Heart Talks. This is my friend Brandon Ellis, and I am so excited for you to meet him and hear his story of awakening and the miracles that happened in his awakening and how it led to the series of books that he's written. One of the series is Star Guild, and the other one is the Pure Light series. And these are great books. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing about his story and these books that he's written. So, Brandon, welcome, and thanks for joining my Heart Talks family.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So your story of awakening is one of those really cool stories because it just sort of happens sort of like that. And so let's share how that all started.
Okay. Well, it all started with a question. And that question I wrote in a journal. I called it my angel diary. And I wrote, I want the whole truth, and I don't care what happens to me. At that time I wrote that, I was kind of going through a spiritual lifting and learning about angels and reading about near-death experiences.
Right.
And I remember it was 4 a.m. when I asked that question, because the next morning, or that day, I had to get up, in 2 hours to go to school, to go to college. I was 17 years old. No, I was about 18. And so I wrote that question in my journal, and when I woke up, I immediately went to my computer because I was a really big American Online kind of fanatic, and I had all my friends on there, and I was in my New Age spiritual groups and all that stuff. And I received an email, and the email said, I died and I talked to angels. And the email laid out specifically what this woman went through and what she was told about, such as what really happened to Atlantis. Was Atlantis real? Was Lemuria real? What really happened with the JFK assassination? Are extraterrestrials real? She wrote some of that out, and just she wrote all that out to all the New Age group. And she didn't know who I was. She got my name from somebody's list, and I was enthralled, and I wrote to her immediately, instant messaged her. They have that now on Facebook, I think.
Right.
Called the personal message.
Right.
And I got back a response immediately. And so I questioned her. I was going through all my little questions that would tell me if this person's real or not, if she's just making this up.
Right. And
everything was answered to, at the time, what I thought was correct. And our last question before I went off to college that day was, where do you live? And she said, Portland. And I said, I live in Portland. And she goes, wow, I've not met anybody in the New Age spiritual groups that live in Portland. And so from that moment on, I got together with her. For the next several months, I still am good friends with her. Mm-hmm. And we've known each other now for about 17 years. And what she has done is she has taught me all of this stuff that she was told in her near-death experience, because that's how she learned about all these angels and all these events that happened in her past, and all the events that are going to happen in our future and have been happening since I've known her. Wow. And she really showed me not just not just about what's going to happen in the world and what has happened in the world. She showed me spirituality and how to follow my dreams. And when I say follow my dreams, I mean that literally. Ask a question before you go to bed, and the answer to your dream will be in your dream. Or not, so the answer to your question will be in your dream.
Brandon, have you been a vivid dreamer?
Ever since I was little. Okay, I'll go back even more. When I was a little kid, I could see angels, and I still can see people who've passed on. I can talk to them. My grandpa visits me every so often. Sometimes he scares the crap out of me, because I'm in my car and I look in my rearview mirror and there he is.
Wow.
And so And then the last time he saw me was the same thing. He was in the rearview mirror, and I told him not to do this anymore because it scared the crap out of me. And he told me Grandma's got two years left to live, and that he's going to be with her when she passes. And so, anyway.
Wow.
So my grandma's still alive, so it hasn't happened yet. So it was more recent that he came to me. And ever since I was a little kid, I'd wake up nightly. I'd wake up nightly, and there would be an angel in my doorway. And it was an apparition of a woman, no wings. She was in all white robes, long white hair, and I wished I would have talked to her. She would kind of send this aura of peace to me, and I would wake up with this sound, like this almost staticky sound in my ears, and I'd look at her, and it would just be peace, and she would just be staring at me. Maybe she didn't know I could see her. I suppose she did, because when I was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8, she kind of came out of her spiritual self or her etheric body, and this is like, it was kind of, I would say around 4 or 5 in the morning, because the sun was coming up, I could tell. And she came over, she walked over to me in her physical body. This sounds so woo-woo. And she didn't grab me. She kind of cradled me, got into my bed, cradled me, and I didn't feel scared or anything. It felt very loved. And she said that you're an indigo child. And I don't know if I was one, because I thought indigo children, if you read the books, I was born in 1977. Indigo children, I guess, were born later than that. I don't know, according to the books. I've only read a couple books on them.
Right.
And she told me that I was an indigo child, and that was about it. There was something else that she didn't say, but it kind of felt like you have a mission in this life, you know.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
Right. Triggering memories.
Yeah, and so then I remember going back to sleep and waking up, and she wasn't there. So that was that. So I've always had type of spiritual things occur to me throughout my life.
And when these things happened to you as a child and all, did you talk about it? Did you tell people? Did you have anyone to talk to about? Or
No, I didn't talk to a single person until I talked to my mom when I was in college, first year of college. I was starting to become more spiritual, and my mom was always a hippie at heart. We never went to organized church. I always did. I always found ways to get there. She was always against it, which to me now I'm glad of. And she asked me a question. She said, every night you would walk into our bedroom and want to sleep in our bed. You weren't really scared, but you just did that. And she asked me why. And I said, well, I would tell her about this apparition that would happen every night. And after that apparition would disappear out of my doorway, I would get up out of my bed, walk across the hall to my parents' room, and then I would lay in their bed. I felt better doing that. I don't know. Right. I felt close to my parents. And so that's the only time I told her. And she goes, oh, that makes sense, because I always thought you were, kind of, I'm not woo-woo, but in that type of etheric realm.
Right.
I mean, I have ET experiences. I have all this stuff that now is becoming more and more, or less and less frowned upon. So easier to talk about.
Well, this is, not everybody gets to have those experiences as a kid. And, just about all my guests have some story where, things like this start happening, and, it comes close to driving them insane at the time. Yeah. And, just like me doing my painting, after my astral travels, because I didn't really talk about it too much either, and I needed some outlet to say, you guys, you should see what happened, what I've been doing. And so it's it's important to let other people know that when you have these things, nowadays there are people you can reach out to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is normal stuff for us now.
Yeah, and more people are waking up. I even just do that on Facebook now.
Right.
And I'm listening to the radio just about every day, a program called Coast to Coast AM, and more people are calling in, telling them their experiences and what's going on with the government. They're waking up with that.
Right.
And it's just amazing with the visitations with ETs and UFOs and
right,
and all of that stuff. It's just rising.
And I like for us to be able to talk just normal and regular about our ET visits, because it is normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took us a while to figure that out, but for our people who are just awakening or just having their experiences, we want you to know, this is normal. This is what we've been doing. We're just now talking about it. That's all. We're just now talking about it. Thank you, technology.
Yes. And in the past with the shamans, say the Native American cultures, this was normal talk too. This was spiritual thinking.
That's right.
This was something of the norm. It wasn't until, as we know, the white men came in and the governments kind of changed things. However, it's going back to where this is also like what we're talking about, becoming like a shaman norm. Mm-hmm. And we are, as an entire species, as an entire human race, we are ascending. And we're not only ascending in thought and consciousness, well, we're definitely ascending in consciousness, but our bodies, our physical bodies are supposed to, according to the ancients, and according to my near-death experience friend, we're going to be ascending to a higher dimension.
According to my body, I am.
Yeah. And we're going to be able to, this will be very normal life, telepathy, telekinesis, all those, psychic experiences that more and more people are experiencing these days. It'll be the norm for every single person.
Right.
Heart consciousness. It's very heart consciousness, heart-based. Yes. And instead of thinking from the mind, we'll be thinking from the heart.
Yes.
Which is all about love. And when you think from the heart, it's 11:11 right now, so that's a good sign. At least it is on my computer.
Yep, right here.
And when you think from the heart, when you think from the mind, you have something called duality that comes around. What you think about can sometimes attract the opposite. So when you think from your heart, when you come down to your heart base and you think from your heart, it's a one duality thing. It's a love duality thing. So what you think of manifests in an extraordinary loving way. And yeah, anyway, that's part of the path I'm realizing right now. It's
right. And for all of the energies that are going on, the sun activity, all these things are helping us get through this process of the physical changing of our bodies and the opening of our hearts. And as a sensitive and having a network of sensitives, we can tell when these energies come in. And it is really wonderful to have a network of people who are feeling these things and connecting and sharing what we're feeling, so that we all know that, hey, this is the good bad feeling. Yeah, it hurts, but it's good. It hurts,
yeah.
Good.
So when I was going through my experiences as a kid and up through high school, and when I just said high school, something came to me. I had a dear friend in high school before I didn't know she passed, but she came to me in a dream because she had passed that night. I didn't know she passed. She died in a car accident, and she came to me, and it was just her face, and then I kind of backed up in the dream, and I'm watching her sit on a stool with almost like a bar in in the background, but it was all heavenly. It was all just white, and she was very happy. And she wanted to tell me she was very happy, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. I wake up, this dream was very vivid, and I go to school, and everybody's crying. And I look at my friend Jenny, and I was like, what happened? And her best friend was this girl who had passed, and she told me, and I was like, I didn't tell anybody about that dream at the time, but I was like, whoa. And it actually, her name was Leah, who had passed away, and she's visited me a couple other times. And I've had other friends visit me who has passed too. And then the last friend that had visited me when he just passed 2 years ago from lung cancer because he was working in a facility, a chemical facility, and he wasn't wearing any apparatus around his face to keep out the toxins and the chemicals. And he passed away, and he visited me in a dream, and he is married at the time, and he told me about his wife and to tell her that he's happy, and he told me all this other stuff that I guess she would only know. So I contacted a friend of hers because I didn't know her at all. I never even talked to her. So I contacted a friend of hers, told her friend everything that I had for the dream, my entire dream. And I got an email back from this my friend's wife, and she said she and her kids have been crying all day because of what I expressed to her about in my dream. And so I don't know, this stuff I call woo-woo is very helpful for other people to move on in life and get over lessons or, learn lessons. And so when I met this near-death experience friend, she really helped me with that, understand all of it. I called her, I guess, my mentor, my guru at the time. She was told that we are not to have gurus this time because we're all supposed to be gurus this time. Right. We do have teachers. Sure. We're all teachers to everybody. Absolutely. However, we all have this unbelievable capacity to be our own guru. And that's one thing she told me. And anyway, so she was told when she was up, after she had passed away, went up the tunnel, had her life review, she was told by a big guide up there. She called him Big Guide because he was really tall and extremely handsome, she said. And he told her, my NDE friend, that she is a living book of knowledge, and she didn't know what that meant. And well, before they had told her she needed to come back and live out a mission and write a couple books, they downloaded certain things in her aura, and she said it felt really interesting, or like almost massaging her aura, and she came back as a living book of knowledge. So anything you would ask her, past, present, or future, it would be like she was told she was a clear channel, one of the few clear channels on Earth, and it would go like this. She would have the answer. So I had about 10 years of asking her questions, because after 10 years, you're just kind of like, okay, I've asked you enough. Let me leave you alone, but we're still good friends. And I asked her question after question after question, and I got all the answers. And even with prophecies, one thing she was told with prophecies is nothing is set in stone. And the human consciousness can change a prophecy, and that's one of the main reasons for prophecies out there, especially the negative prophecies. They're the ones we perceive to be negative. Right. And she told me about earth changes and stuff like that. However, during the time, because she was in contact with her guides, is that her prophecies started, even though most of them are coming true, some of them were changing. Some of them were lessening in negativity. Right. And then she taught me how to ask my dreams what's going on, my guides in my dreams. And I got things like, it's like for earth changes, it's going to be, this is what I was told, I don't know if it's true, is that earth changes will be half as bad as they were going to be. And then that was years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago. And now I'm wondering if it's going to be even less. I'm still trying to figure out life, so I don't know.
Right. Some people will look at that and go, oh, they were wrong. the other side of that coin is we're making a difference.
Yes, exactly. And I think I told you about this last time when I talked to you. This woman way back when named Ruth Montgomery, she was like the Barbara Walters of the 1940s and 50s and 60s.
Yes.
And she was a journalist, and she was during the FDR administration. She was well known then. She was told one time to go on a seance, let's do a journal. Let's write about a seance. And she didn't want to go. Her boss made her go. And she went, and at the seance, she was told that she's an automatic writer, and she didn't even have a clue what that was, but she was told, in 10 days, you're going to start automatic writing, and your guides are going to be talking to you. So for, 30 plus years after that seance, she was automatic writing. She was writing books, lots of books, and she was writing prophecies just like Edgar Cayce, and her prophecies were coming true all the way up to the 80s and 90s. And in the 90s, they stopped coming true. And so she wrote her very last book. I think it's called The World to Come. And she asked, why did they stop happening? And her guides told her that thanks to her and all these other people who were writing what they're writing or saying what they're saying, it was raising the consciousness of humankind. And that has brought in the more positive effects of the change instead of the negative effects, like the world wars and the nuclear disasters. She was told those aren't going to happen anymore. And the major plagues that were supposed to happen, that even my friend, my NDE friend, was told about, she was told it's not going to happen anymore. And after, it's the only thing that Ruth Montgomery said that was going to keep going all the way to the shift, the earth changes, was terrorism. So that's just going to keep going. And so anyway, and my near-death experience friend was told very similar things. Nothing's, like I said before, nothing's set in stone, and we can literally change reality, just like Yeshua Christos. My near-death experience friend said Jesus' name was really Yeshua Christos, not Jesus Christ. And as there's no J in Arabic, and he said we have the power to move mountains, and we do. And literally, earth change-wise, consciousness can change all that. It can be a picnic or it can be hell on earth. And I think I'm hoping we're choosing the picnic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you and I know that there's truth in what I'm saying here, that even as we speak, as we're making a higher vibrational connection and talking about higher vibrational, multidimensional, we indeed are changing the world in this moment.
Yes.
Because we are adding to, well, for one, for my Heart Talks, that golden ripple of love foundation that I've created here, but it all extends outward. Every single moment that we're acting in positivity, we are changing the world. We are anchoring that into our new world energy. And I've talked often about being very careful what subjects you speak about and in which vibration you're speaking about them in, because that's where you're adding.
Especially nowadays.
Especially now.
The veils are thinning, so manifesting is much easier and faster.
Yes.
And it's we are kind of getting to a point that we're almost doing like a meditation on a global scale to better our world. And I think the master knows the power of the word. And before the word comes the thought, and before the thought comes the feeling. And that's really what changes the world. So when we change our thoughts, even change our lifestyle from like what I did with the books is I had a career of 17 years of being a sports therapist, and I was healing a lot of people. I also, at the same time, was not enjoying it. I'd wake up every day like thinking, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
The entire time I was wanting to be an author, and finally I made that jump. And like we talked last time, the jump has been very difficult in several ways. Financially, the main one. The other one, the other, there's a lot of ways that it can be difficult. However, it brings joy to my life, and I'm pretty. I have faith that regardless of how little money I have, my needs will always be met. And like we talked last time, at that last hour when you don't have the money for the bills, it somehow comes. And when, like, I remember again, last time we talked, this is last month, I think it was last month, when I had no money for bills.
Right.
I'm pissed off at the world. I've been doing all these things, meditations in the mornings and working out and positive thinking, all of these things that I have learned really helps with manifesting and
right.
better our world. And I had $0, literally. I was at zero. I looked at my bank account, there was $0 in it. And I had all these bills to pay, and I said, screw this. Screw you guides, screw you angels. I was cussing at them. You guys don't do anything for me.
Right.
And then I was like, fine, I give up. I'm doing this all on my own, blah, blah, blah. And I went to sleep. You don't ever go to sleep in a bad mood because you can't really sleep. And I wake up the next morning, and I woke up later because I really didn't get much sleep. And I went to the mailbox, and I saw this letter in there that I didn't recognize, but it was from my insurance company. And if I go back a little bit farther, my car had been stolen and ransacked, and my insurance company paid me out to fix my car and for other damages. But what I didn't know is when I woke up that morning after I was pissed off and went out into my mailbox and saw the letter from the insurance company, they had forgotten to pay a big chunk of other money. And I was like, holy crap, this manifesting does work.
There it was.
The universe does have my back, and I can pay bills. So it's amazing how that happens. And people have told me that's kind of, when you're learning about faith, many times this can happen to where you're just like, it's the worst of the worst, and you just give up.
Yes.
And then that's when the answer appears.
Yes.
It's like surrendering, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
I'm still learning all this.
Last week I was in the 10th hour. This week I was in the 11th hour, and yesterday the money arrived.
Yes.
Okay. We talked about this unfoldment plan.
Yeah.
Which I'm still on. After 4 or 5 years now, I'm still on the unfoldment plan. I still allow things to come to me. I still allow my guests to come to me. I allow opportunities, and getting mad at the angels is real. Okay. We don't need to sit here and act like we don't get mad at the angels sometimes, because we really do. At 10th and 11th hour, I start rolling my eyes and getting nervous, and then, as always, it's always a trust in the unfoldment. And when we dedicate ourselves to this unfoldment,
yes,
I know deep inside of us, we know it's going to work, but our humans get freaked out at times.
Our ego tries to scare the heck out of us.
Okay, so let's get to the books.
Okay, so the first book I ever wrote was called The Pier Lights of Totem. That name was given to me in a dream. The books were given to me first. Okay, I got to back up again. For about 2 years, I was working very hard with my sports therapy business, and I was making a lot of money, had my own a nice home, and it'd been probably the year and a half of me working 10 hours a day for 5 to 6 days a week. And I walked into my house. I had my briefcase with me, which was just my computer, my laptop. This is in 2008. And I was in in my hallway, walking into my house, I would walk into my hallway and I just stopped because right in front of me, a vision just appeared. And the vision was an entire book, but it happened in what seemed to be, I don't know, a second or two. And the beginning and the end of the vision was this cherry tree, this very gigantic cherry tree that was growing, I could tell, in a vortex because the tree spun as it grew. And the tree was called the snow tree because instead of growing cherries, it would grow snow. And the snow would fall from the tree. And to me, that was very peculiar. However, after I had that vision, I walked right into my room, grabbed a piece of paper, and I wrote down as much as I could remember from that vision. And then from that day forward, I started having dreams of scrolls that are in the books, characters that are in the books. And even friends had visitations from these characters, and it was almost like they were prodding me on to do this. It did take me 4 years to finally sit down and write it. However, during those 4 years, I was having dreams of the snow tree, and I had the most vivid dream I had was in this book called The Pure Lights of Totem, is an island, and the island is called Totem. And I'm in this dream, I'm on this island, even before I wrote the book, I'm on this island, and I have our forefathers, like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, John Hancock, John Adams, Madison, Monroe, Adams Jr., and they're all like surrounded me. And I'm in this kind of forest that's a jungle-like forest, and they told me that, please write this book, it's going to be revolutionary. And it's going to inspire a lot of children because it's a upper middle school, young adult book. The characters in my book are real people, my son and daughter, and so I kind of used their personalities throughout the book and how they lived with each other in real life, so I could paint a good picture of it. And then while I was writing the book, I was getting downloads during my dreams of what to put in there. And also, my near-death experience friend, she didn't write the book. However, a lot of it was written based on the things that she was told.
Right.
And some of the things she was told went right through my dreams and through my guides and telling me what to write. And I used to work for this guy named Anthony Robbins. He's a peak performance coach, and I used a lot of his stuff. And I was a world religions major, so I used a lot of the information that the sages from each religion brought to people, the masses, and Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, things like that. And this book, after it was done, I was shown in a dream to enter it into a contest. And I asked my near-death experience friend if I should do that. And she was like, yeah, if your dream told you, do it, because I didn't think it was well written. She happened to edit it for me. She's an incredible writer and an incredible editor, but she wanted to keep it as true to form as my energy is and as the energy of the dreams were and all that stuff. So even though she edited it, I didn't think it was edited well enough. It's a hard word to say, edited. I didn't think it was well enough to win a contest.
Right.
And it won. And it shocked the heck out of me. And so it won the Global Book Contest.
Wow. Wow.
And I thought, oh, I can stop my massaging, because I was a sports massage therapist. I'm going to be, this is going to pay for everything. And what it did was it kind of bumped up my ranking a little bit. People started buying more of the book than they did on Amazon. But when you're an amateur, nobody knows your name.
Right.
You're a writer for one thing, and that's difficult enough to make money. And I thought, I made good amount, but not anything to allow me to retire from massage.
Right.
Nonetheless, I created 2 more books in that Pure Light series. One's called Pure Lights and the Pure Light Order, and the other one's called Pure Lights and the Pyramid of Om. And these books have a kind of, people say it doesn't, but I don't know how else to explain it. It kind of has a Narnia feel to it,
Right.
as in you go into a different dimension.
Right.
And these children, they find a portal through a blackberry bush, a little blackberry tunnel that they find in the forest, because in the back of their house it's just a 100-acre forest, and that's where they meet the snow tree in that forest, and that's where they see the blackberry bush, and that's when they go into this portal. But what happens when they go through this portal is their bodies change. Their bodies change from a human form to their spirit animal.
Wow.
Their main spirit animal. So my son became a Black Panther, and my daughter became a Skylark. And so the way I figured out which spirit animal they were is I had a dream that showed me how to figure out what my kids were. And that's, you've probably seen the animal totem cards. I would shuffle up those totem cards, and my kids were really young, maybe 8 or 9 at the time. They're 2 years apart, so like 8 or 10. And I had them grab one, and my son was a Black Panther, and he loved that. And my daughter was a Skylark, and she's like, "Oh man!" He wanted me to change it in the book, and I was like, "No, I'm sorry. Let's just do it this way." And it's great because the Skylark is a beautiful singer, and that has a big aspect in the book, how it can really change lives with toning and showing your and proving to yourself that you have a voice.
Yes.
In this book. In this book, what some people in some of the reviews, I didn't even intend to be like this. I thought this book was going to be good versus evil, because when they go through this portal, I mean, this huge story. But when they go through this portal, they meet spirit animals and spirit animal sages, and each spirit animal has their own evolutionary track, meaning that they have embedded in their forehead, their third eye, and their heart chakra, crystals. And if you have a red crystal, it means you're either just born or you're just kind of at the lowest part of the evolutionary tract. And when you have a purple crystal or violet crystal, that's when you're the sages. There's very few sages, like 9 sages in that entire Totem island. And these sages have been taken over by, not these sages, I'm sorry. These sages have kept tribes together away from an outside entity, an extraterrestrial type of entity that has taken over the upper portion of this island. And they have gotten into kind of the minds and the spirits, not really, but they are able to convince a portion of the tribes in the northern lands to war against the southern tribes.
Wow.
And the southern tribes are all about nonviolence. So they had to figure out some type of nonviolent, not only communication, but nonviolent defense moves to keep these intruders away without killing them.
Wow.
And they figured out some type of stun technique to do it. And then they would just deliver them back over to their lands, kind of thing.
Wow. Wow.
There are some deaths in it, and some surprises, and here's what I was getting to. So I thought this book was good versus evil. However, what a lot of the reviewers on Amazon has said was they thought this book would be like that, but it's really about the struggle of my kids going to this land and trying to get it back home. And it's almost a struggle of good and evil between themselves instead of the outer world.
Right.
And so
Right.
that's my book,
Wow.
trilogy, in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow. Well, it sounds very exciting, and I haven't read them yet, but it is, I love the Harry Potters and
Yeah.
the Narnias. I mean, that kind of feels like my life anyway. So, that's why I'm attracted to that. So, okay. Now look, we've got 10 minutes.
Okay. Did we talk about Star Guild really quickly?
Yes.
One thing my near-death experience friend was told was about this planet called Nibiru. It's in a cyclical orbit around the sun, and it comes around our portion of the solar system every 3,600 years. And when you go back into Mesopotamia and Sumer, you find what they have found archaeologically are 25,000 Sumerian tablets. And these Sumerian tablets are written by the people of Sumer, and it speaks of the extraterrestrials of this planet Nibiru who have come down and kind of, in some ways, created the human race, a portion of the human race. And as it gets really woo-woo, okay, as their slaves, because Nibiru is a planet that has a climate that's, I guess, difficult on the Nibiru's body. I don't know if I have that correct. There's something going on with the atmosphere. And so what they do is they mine gold, they put it in they burn it to a small ash, and then they let it loose in their atmosphere. And one of the greatest places in the universe is Earth, and one of the greatest places for gold and most beautiful places is Earth, but one of the greatest places for gold is Earth as well. And so they mined and all this stuff. So a long story short, since we only have 10 minutes, I had this dream showing me, I was writing a book, I was seeing space with a lot of cool looking ships, and it's, so the premise of the book is these Nibiruns, these Anunnakis, what they're really called, came to Earth and they just kind of disappeared. Nobody really knows where they went. The Sumerian tablets said they left off planet. And the premise of my book is, what if they left and took some of us and still used some of us for their breeding program, the genetic engineering, and they put us in what I did is I created a star base above a planet. I call this planet Loomis, and it's in a certain quadrant of our galaxy. And this race, this human race now genetically created, is, hard to explain this. It's so detailed. If you're in the book, when you're reading the book, it's like a mystery. You're uncovering everything as you're going along.
Yes.
So this race, this human race on the starbase, has no idea about the Anunnaki. They have no idea they're being controlled. They have no idea there's chemicals in the water. They have no idea they're being dumbed down on purpose. They don't have a clue of their history, except for the history that the Anunnaki has created for them. The Anunnaki is watching them, but they don't even know that. There are certain people placed in government portions of the starbase that do know and are helping keep the humans dumbed down. However, what happens when they start waking up? Because there's going to be a portion when you can only lie for a certain amount of time before the lie disintegrates and the truth starts to come out. And are you still there?
Yes. Yes. Just hang on. Hang on. We'll be right back. We have a little pause here, but it'll come right back. We're having just a little tech problems. It happens all the time, but I think Brandon will be right back. Brandon's books are called The Star Guild and the Pure Light series. They're on Amazon, and they're exciting books, and I hope you get a chance to go to Amazon. You can see some previews of the books, and he's such a great guy, and I'm really have enjoyed having him on the show. I hope to have him on again with my friend Rich Chavis, because the three of us can really get going talking about all kinds of cool stuff. I'm going to go ahead and end this show. His name is Brandon Ellis. He's the author of the Star Guild series and of the Pure Light series. And he's a fascinating guy, and he's had a great experiences in his awakening. So from my heart to yours, namaste. Thank you for joining me.